My 20s, they tried to break me. Okay. And they almost succeeded. But now my 30s are rebuilding me. So much so to the point where I look back and I don't even recognize the woman that I was. And that's because I spent most of like my entire 20s trying to be someone who I was not. And just being someone I was never meant to be. So now in my 30s, I am finally meeting the woman who I was always meant to become. And it feels good, okay? If you would have told me 3 years ago that I would be this confident, this at peace, and this grounded, I probably would not have believed you. Because the woman I was back then, she was so lost, so misguided. She did not have a clue, okay? Let me paint the picture. In my 20s, I was a people pleaser. I lacked self-confidence. I wouldn't say I had low self-esteem, but I had a level of esteem that was nowhere where it is now. I used to dim my light to make other people confident. I made myself smaller and shrunk myself so that I could fit into rooms that I was never meant to be in to begin with. I second guessed everything, my worth, my voice, my decisions, and I just was not confident in who I was. And looking back now with the love that I have for me now, I wonder if I even loved myself. In my 20s, I chased validation and connection from people who were never capable of reciprocating that. And I tolerated a lot of treatment that I should never have accepted. I endured plenty of friendships that were not reciprocal, where I was always the one showing up. And don't get me started on those situationships that had me pouring from an empty cup. Sucked me dry, okay? I was not at all intentional with money, and I spent a lot of money trying to fill voids instead of intentionally building. I had no discipline, no savings, and no plan. Overall, I was surviving. Hell, in fact, I was living the life. But every aspect of my life needed transformation. There was intentionality in my 20s, but there wasn't any real intentionality towards my purpose and towards the woman who I have become. But life, baby, life has a way of humbling you. The me in my 20s, she was a girl who, when she was going through something, people closest to her would never know. And it's not even that like I was trying to hide something. It's just you get in your head, you get around yourself, you start listening to all these negative thoughts, which we know comes from the devil. And it just be like, why would I talk to anybody? They can't help me. They can't feel me. Like, because even if somebody can relate, sometimes it just feels like, what could you really do? It's still not you at the end of the day. It's my life. It's happening to me. And so I was doing a lot of like drinking to numb things and, just get away and escape. I was having sex, situationship after situationship, because even though I know like, oh, I should not be having sex with someone, I kind of didn't care. Your 20s is your first real decade as an adult. And yeah, we're allowed to mess up. We're allowed to make mistakes. We're allowed to grow and learn. We're all human. And mistakes were made, okay? I was at that age where I was trying to figure out my life. I was evaluating my life, looking at where I was at, like just going through my transformation process. And so I felt like I had hit rock bottom. And at rock bottom is where I met Jesus. A wise woman once told me, when you're at rock bottom, the only place to go is up. Rock bottom is ground zero. That is the foundation for everything. And so life humbled me. Through heartbreak, loss, and disappointment, things just started falling apart in ways that I could not control. I was broken, but it was in that brokenness that I found God. I stopped running. I stopped numbing. I turned away from the edibles. Y'all, I used to be on them edibles real bad, okay? Me in my 20s, I never did no drugs and none of that for real, but I loved me some edibles and some alcohol, okay? I stopped all of that. I stopped running and I stopped trying to force things into place. I started really getting still, and it's in that stillness I started to hear God. And the great thing about that is I started like self-reflecting, and things started coming to the surface, and I realized that everything that I had been externally chasing, validation, love, security, I had to build that within myself first. And so I went on a journey of self love, dealing with trauma. Because a lot of times we're just walking around with like baggage and trauma and like things that affected you at whatever age or from whatever relationship. You're just carrying that around, because I feel like as Black people, period, because we don't teach our boys like emotions, and it's always like toughen up, you a man, this, that, and the other. But also as Black women, there's a whole strong narrative, like be strong. And then it's kind of like when you're independent, not by choice, just because you have to be, it's kind of just like you don't have time to really sit and feel emotions and, go through all of that, because it's like you got to get up and save yourself, because physically, who's coming to save you? you know I know my mama, long as she alive, baby, she coming to save me. But realistically, outside of that, is like you just can't stew in brokenness. Like you just got to get up and do something about it. And so I went on a complete journey of self-love, of healing, of understanding who I am, of finding my purpose, and all of that led me to where I am today and who I am today. The woman who I am today is, I would say, about 93% of my dream woman, of who I will want to be. That other 7% is in the making, okay? I really took time to find my voice and get to know myself. I found myself. And now in my 30s feel completely different. The amount of peace that I have right now, the security that I had been looking for in men or wherever else, I have never felt more secure than I do right now. And I am single. And the security that I have, it comes from, one, knowing that I'm submitted to my purpose, I'm submitted to God, and I know that He got me no matter what. But it's also like I stopped shrinking myself to fit into places. A lot of times, I used to have friends or people that would be like, oh, you're too much, or you're too this, or you're too that. And I always took that as a bad thing, because I would be like, oh, I'm too much, I'm too extra, I'm too this. And it would like chip away at my personality, because I started to dim myself. Well, now I realize, like, if I'm too much, it's because you're too less. And it doesn't even necessarily mean that those people are bad people, but sometimes you just aren't what somebody is able to handle, because they aren't willing to expand their capacity, and that is okay. I'm proud of who I become, so I am no longer like seeking validation from anyone. I am no longer shrinking myself. I'm no longer second guessing my decisions, and I'm just confident now, because now I've built my life on a foundation that cannot be shaken, and ultimately that foundation is God. And I'm just so proud that I did not give up on myself when things got tough. Because in your 20s, when you are going through like that whole transformation process, and even like, I would even say like 30, when you're going through that whole transformation process, the world seems so heavy. The weight seems so heavy, but it's like looking back in hindsight, it's that deep, but it's not that deep. It's only deep because it is uncharted waters and it's new to you. And change is scary when your life is changing, and like you want to hit certain milestones, and you want to do all these things in life. Like all of that can be scary, but as you actually go through and start to like do things and work through these things, you realize like that little thing, that thing that seems so big that I was so afraid of, really ain't nothing at all. Overall, I've just been glowing up, but it is a continuous journey. My number one saying that I have been saying to my friends and literally myself and just everyone, like I wake up and repeat this in the morning, and I say, whatever I dealt with in my 20s, I am not dealing with in my 30s. That goes for men, that goes for friends, that goes for finances, that goes for weight, that goes for whatever it is. I am not dealing with the same issues from the last decade in this decade. That has been my saying going into 30, and I have lived by that every single day since I have been in my 30s. Any relationships that are not reciprocated, whether they are friendly, whether they're romantic, whatever it is, it could be family. Like I cut them off so hard, so easily now. And it's like sometimes it is hard when you really do get like your emotions or your feelings involved with people. But I just be thinking back to 20-something-year-old me, and I'd be like, you know what? She probably would have kept them around. And guess what? We already know she ain't make the best decisions. X them, get them up out of here. If it's one sided, if I'm giving too much, if I'm doing too much, I release it because that's just not what I'm tolerating in my 30s. I no longer dim my light. I let my light shine and I let it shine bright. If my growth intimidates someone, that is not my burden to carry. I shine regardless now. I feel like this is not age specific because sometimes we just get antsy, right? And I used to try to rush God's timing with a lot of stuff, especially the closer you get to 30. Like when I tell you last year, and I think it's just you hit a certain age and then your body, your brain, you're just like, I need to be married and have a baby, you know? And I had to slow myself down and be like, hold on, Egypt, calm down. Because do you really want a baby right now? A husband, yes. Calm me. But do you really want a baby? Like, calm down, you know? But I'm just no longer rushing God's timing or trying to force things. I spent so many years in my 20s just trying to force open doors and kick. Baby, I was trying to kick them doors open like Monica. Okay, kick down your door, smack it. Okay. I was trying to like force doors open that God was literally closing and keeping closed for my protection. But now I trust his timing. Like even when it's hard, I have learned in my 30s, trust God's timing because there's not one time it has ever failed. I also am not settling. I feel like a lot of women get to their 30s and, you know, I'm only 31, so I've only been in my 30s for 1 year. But a lot of women, even now at this age, you'll be surprised. And, you know, just in their 30s, period, they begin to settle. And it's not judging because it's like, I get it, girl. I understand. I'm right here with you, okay? I'm right here with you. But it's like you feel like you've been dealing with something for so long and you feel like, well, let me just settle and just take this because this might be the best I can get. And it's like, no, absolutely not. Like I have come to the realization of a lot of things. And at 31 years old, I just know that like if I trust God to be, you know, who I believe him to be and who he's always shown me that he is, I know that he has his best for me, regardless of what that looks like, regardless of how long it takes, whatever. And it's like, I'm not going to settle for anything, not in a relationship, not in a friendship, not in a job, and not in how I allow people to treat me. I would rather wait than accept less than what I deserve. And that's just where I'm at with it. I will wait as long as I need to, because what I don't want to happen is for me to rush into any situation, you guys. And this isn't even just about like a romantic or dating type thing, but it's like, I don't want to rush into any situation and then it ends up not being what God had for me or not being a good situation in the end, because it's like at the end of the day, stuff be looking good on the surface, you know, stuff be looking real good on the surface. The beginning stage, the beginning phases is always amazing, but eventually you start to see things for what it really is. And I feel like I just want to wait. I don't have an issue with waiting. I feel like I've waited long enough. What's a little bit more, you know? But you know, not too much. Society will try to convince you like if you're a woman and you in your 30s and you ain't this and you ain't that by now, like you're old, you're washed up, you're not the pick of the litter. And I just realized that is not stuff that you can listen to. I feel like at the end of the day, I am 31 and I've never been more at peace. I've never been more happy. I am intentionally like building and creating this life that I don't need to escape from and that I'm genuinely happy to like wake up and be in my skin. So actively right now I am building my confidence. I feel like I'm always building my confidence though, because confidence is it's not like a one and done thing, because your confidence can literally be through the roof, but as you walk through society, there's always going to be people, places, and things that try to chip away at it. You know, there are going to be people who don't love the way that you love yourself. There are going to be people who think that you think too highly of yourself. There are going to be people that just be plain miserable and they don't want you to have the view and the opinion that you have of yourself. And so that is something that you always have to work on. And I have no issues working on it in that department because I'm not gonna let y'all get to me. And I'm honestly just working in all areas of my life. Right now, I am focusing on building my dreams and my goals and my career. I am building my home. I'm building my life. I am pouring into the relationships that are in my life right now. And I'm pouring into me. And I'm cutting and demoting and promoting and moving people around and shifting people out as necessary. At this stage of my life, in my 30s, I am moving with intention and not urgency. I am at peace. I am aligned. I am walking in purpose. I'm not chasing. I attract. I'm not begging for love. I receive it because I'm already full of it. I'm soft, but I'm strong. I'm choosing myself unapologetically. I'm trusting God's timing even when it's hard. Leading with grace, but having strong boundaries. I am still becoming, I am still growing, and I am still learning. The woman I prayed to become, I'm already becoming her. If you're in the middle of your own transformation, shedding the old you, leaving the old you behind, and stepping into who you are meant to be and stepping into the new you and the new era, babe, you are not behind. You are not broken. You are becoming her and becoming the best version of yourself. And I'm so glad you found this channel, because this channel is all about personal growth and development, soft life, alignment, purpose, all of the things. And so if that resonates, follow along, because babe, we're in this together. Thanks for watching my video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, babe.